And we are live. Greetings, everybody in WyoNation. Chad Smith here. Excited to talk some football because the season is here. It is game week. Week 0 is in the books. How about that game in Ireland? Florida State was the talk of the weekend. But now, hopefully, the talk of the weekend will be your Wyoming Cowboys as they will travel to Tempe, Arizona to take on the Arizona State Sun Devils. And football season is really here as the initial depth chart, the first one released by new head coach Jay Savell, has dropped. And I am here to break it all down, give you my thoughts, what we can look forward to. This is going to be really interesting season. And this initial depth chart, as I said, is just the sign that football is here. And soon we'll all be gathered at the war wearing our brown and gold, cheering on the Cowboys. So let's get into it. I was hoping that the official release of the depth chart would be out by now via the official comms from UW Athletics. But that has not been the case, unfortunately. And so I am taking this from a tweet from Alex Taylor of the Cheyenne paper. Let's see what he has to say here. But first, I just want to make sure everything on the comms are working okay. As we are live here, the joys of live streaming. Let's make sure that we are up and running. And we are. So that's good. If you are here, let me know. You can see us YouTube. It's the best place. You can comment with us. Oh, there we go. We got a chat. Zach is in the stream. Hello, Zach. So we are. Everything's working properly. That's good. I just wanted to make sure that was the case. Welcome, Zach. Good to see you again. Yep. So again, as I said, we are now streaming once again on the Twitter, the official WyoNation.com account. We are live there, and we are live on our YouTube. Come see us there. Oh, look, it's working. Shay is dropping in from Twitter. Okay. They said this was working, but I didn't know how it worked. So I don't know how this worked. Did you tell me, Shay, how did that work? Did you just reply to the tweet? Or is there some kind of video thing now? Or can you type in the video? This technology confuses me. What is that caveman quote? My primitive mind cannot handle such technology. So cool. Very good. So so now you can comment Twitter and YouTube. Either way, you can have your voice heard. And man, this depth chart is out. So again, we got it from Alex Taylor of the Cheyenne paper. All right, let's see here. Shay says there is a live chat bar below the video, but it looks grayed out. Okay, thank you. So if you are on Twitter, that's how you do it. I was trying to figure it out the other day. So very cool that we have upgraded that. So either way, you can communicate with us. I guess before we get started, let's just say if you haven't checked out my series of interviews from Media Day, I had 5 of them that dropped. I think I'll probably make those into their own playlist. So if you haven't seen them, you can check that out. But the last one dropped on Sunday, and it was my interview with defensive tackle coach Jeff Phelps, which I think was the best of the bunch. Absolutely amazing guy, and you can see why he's really shot up in his career. Started at the Division III level, worked his way up to working in the SEC. So that is the amazing thing about football, right? If you're a player, if you're a coach, if you're good enough, the top programs will find you, which is really cool. So we got that. And then, of course, we will be doing, depending on when the games are, post and pre-games here on WyoNation, which is my favorite part of the football season, to be able to talk with you all. But, so without further ado, let's bring up this. And we're way zoomed in. So unfortunately, as I said, the official one hasn't dropped. But thanks to Alex Taylor for tweeting this out so we can go through it. And no surprises here, right? QB1, Evan Svoboda. I think we pretty much all knew this. Now it's his time to show what he can do. But he has all the physical tools, as you know. Not much to talk about there. Interesting part about this quarterback battle is between Anderson and Clemens, there is an or. We'll have to see if Coach Savell has some more to say about that. I was going to attend the press conference, which was at noon Mountain Time, but they made it in person only. So we'll have to wait for the video of that to drop. And I'm sure someone asked him about this battle between Anderson and Clemens. I'm guessing this is just an alphabetical thing, and I would fully expect Jaden Clemens to come in if Svoboda had to come out for any reason. But we'll see. So interesting there. We have an or, but it's good to see that Wyoming has some options at quarterback. Clemens has played a little bit. Anderson, redshirt freshman, obviously hasn't played, but is a talented quarterback out of the state of Texas. So there we go. Running back, again, not a surprise. Unfortunately, as we know, Harrison Whaley is injured. Let's just go up here. Actually, we'll stay right there. So DJ Jones, the graduate transfer from the University of North Carolina, is coming in, and we've heard nothing but good things from him there. And then we have another set of or. So good. Wyoming has a deep running back room. You got Farrell and Sam Scott, right? And so, right, we all seen what Scam Scott. That'd be quite the name. No, Sam Scott. What he can do. He played quite a bit last year, came up big, especially in that Texas Tech game. So if he's your third string running back, and that's without Whaley, that tells you that room is in great shape. So Jones, Farrell, Scott, they're all going to get carries. It's going to be like 100 degrees even at night there in Tempe. So I think you'll see all three running backs, and we will hope for the speedy recovery of one Whaley as he is coming off that knee surgery. And I'm expecting him to miss the first 3 to 4 games. All right, Shay has a comment here, if I can get to the right screen. He says, per the new guy, Anthony, at the Casper Star, he says McNeely has a 10% chance to play. Okay, well, I'd say that's basically a 0. No need to rush him back. ACLs for a running back, but McNeely will be back too at some point in the month of September, for sure. So, yeah, Jones, Farrell, Scott there. No Whaley, unfortunately, but that is life. Wyoming in great hands. DJ Jones getting a lot of rave reviews behind the scenes. TJ, I see you talking about wide receivers, and I do believe they're next. Actually, it might be tight end. No, wide receivers. So let's see if we can fit all 3 here. Here we go. Great. So the wide receivers was the group that I was really, really interested in seeing how this all shake down. So you have your X and your Z, your big outside receivers. You got Alex Brown, senior, taking that number 1 mantle. And then Jalen Sargent, kind of off the radar. Now, I didn't see a whole lot of talk about him during spring or during the summer or during fall camp. So very interesting, very talented. I do believe he was a 3-star recruit from Logan, Utah, right? Who was offered by Utah State. And it was very surprising that Wyoming, who obviously back then wasn't really known for throwing the ball, got that done. But Brown, Sargent, and then slot receiver is Devin Body Jr., who I interviewed. So again, if you want to hear more about him, you can go to the WyoNation YouTube page and see my interview with him. He is the transfer from Vanderbilt, and he is ahead of another transfer, Tyler King from Texas Tech. So as you can see here, I really like the shape of this room in terms of you got big guys on the outside, all of them 6 foot and above, pushing 190 and above, and then you got your small guys in the slot. Exactly how you dream it up. Pellissier is a second string. Very interesting. Stevenson, who the coach mentioned by name as a playmaker, second string. So these are good problems to have if Wyoming can get some production from this group. And so TJ asks, let's bring this up here. Where is Chris Durr? Right? And he is not on the 2 deep at all, which I guess is not too surprising for me. I know there was a lot of talk. He was the best receiver statistically during the spring. I think he'll play. Obviously, we got 6 receivers here, but we have a couple other names on there. Chris Durr Jr., and then a JUCO transfer by the name of Jalen Bean. I think it's Jalen. Make sure. It begins with a J for sure. Let's flip my roster page here. Make sure that I got that right. There's another guy who was talked about during the camp. Yeah, Jalen Bean. Just want to make sure that was right. So those are two other wide receivers that outside of the 6 could play. So 8 wide receivers you could see play because of the temperatures. And here we go. Chase says, Sargent is a big surprise since 2 years ago. They raved about him and then he disappeared. Exactly. 2 years ago, he was the Chris Durr, who they were like going, oh my God, this guy's going to be unbelievable. And then it just never panned out. So good to see him fight, right? He's a junior now, a couple years in the program. Let's see what he can do. Let's see. TJ says, since he's a true freshman, it makes it, especially with the depth. Yeah. But I think he'll play, right? It may just be a thing. And here's the thing with the wide receivers. And it sounds like this was Bowl for sure did it this way. And it sounds like Savell is going to be the same way. They're not interested in building packages for people, which I kind of disagree with. Like if you have a guy who can do 3 or 4 things really well then make packages where he can come in and do those 3 or 4 things everywhere. But it sounds like they want their wide receivers to come in and know the entire playbook and run the entire playbook, which I do understand too, because you don't want to tip what you're doing. Because if they know, hey, if this guy's in the game, he's only running these 2 routes or they're only featuring these 2 concepts, that can hinder you. But at the same time, you need to get your best players out there. So that's your wide receiver room. And as we mentioned in our preview, let's hope for production there. All right. Tight ends. Again, they have a lot of tight ends. Only 2 listed. More than these 2 guys will play, obviously, because they're going to play 3 or 4. But it all ends and begins with JMG. No surprise there. John Michael Gillenborg, number 1, and then Nick Miles, number 2. Both guys who can block and catch. So not much to talk about there. But the other guys in the mix we'll see sometimes because you're going to see those 3 or 4 tight end sets, goal line sets, all that good stuff. Oh, we have one more. Shay. Yeah, sorry. We got so many comments. It's hard for me to keep up. I wonder if Nanke is above Schoenfeld. Yeah. Those are the other 2 tight ends who I would expect to play. Again, Nanke, if that's how you pronounce it, is the transfer from CSU. So he saw the light, came up north. And then Schoenfeld is a Rock Springs kid. 2 other tight ends with experience. So Wyoming's got 4 tight ends that'll see the field. And so I think that's great. But again, it's all about JMG. Get him the ball. He's a playmaker. All right, offensive line. None of this is really a surprise because they were experienced and we kind of heard what was going to happen. So the big thing is at the tackles, right? So if you go down here, you'll see Caden Barnett is the right tackle. And there was a lot of speculation that he had moved left, but they're not doing that. They're keeping him on the right. Backing him up will be Alex Kahn, who was at Nebraska for a year, went to a JUCO, came to Wyoming. He's a talented player, just couldn't stay injury-free, and that's why he kind of washed out in Nebraska. So good to see him on the 2 deep. He's got all the tools. But left tackle is where you're talking about. You got 2 giant left tackles at 6'5" and above and 300 pounds, and Nathan Geiger and Jake Davies. Geiger is going to be your starting left tackle as a redshirt freshman, 6'5", 295 from Highlands Ranch, Colorado. And Shea, this is the guy, right, who in high school was like 220 pounds or something. So in just 2 years, this kid in his redshirt year put on 60 pounds of muscle or something to become a left tackle, which is quite the transformation of a body. So we'll see. They must have a lot of confidence in him if they're going to do this. So I think this is the number 1 thing to watch for in the offensive line. Otherwise, Wyoming's in great shape. You got King, who played a lot of football last year. You got Tulifono, who obviously is very experienced. You got Jack Walsh, and then Caden Barnett. And their backups have played a little as well. I guess the new one on the scene would be Grosstein Matchy, who is another redshirt freshman. But we have heard good things about him. He was playing tackle. Here we go. Shea says he was just over 200 pounds. So Geiger, since he's graduated high school, has put on almost 100 pounds. And I saw a picture of him. He looks like he could handle it. Now, this was a headshot. We'd have to see. I'll be very interested to see what he looks like in a uniform, and we'll get that on Saturday. But yeah, he put on 100 pounds almost. That's just crazy. So yeah, obviously probably very athletic, probably very good footwork. And again, I'm sure Savell has talked about it in the press conference, and we'll follow up once we're able to watch that. So yeah, offensive line, nothing to really be concerned about except for that left tackle spot. A lot of experience. So yeah, so there is your depth chart. If you guys got any comments, any questions, I guess while we're on this side of the page, we'll talk about your specialists in the return game. We talked about this in the preview we last week. In fact, I do believe we were talking about Cooley and King. Well, Cooley has won that job over King, which is interesting. And I think, again, they're valuing Cooley. May not be a playmaker per se, but he's reliable and will catch the ball. And that is the number one thing that you need to do as a punt returner. King will back him up, and you never know. This could switch. Same thing. These two guys are going to be in the line below. They're going to be your tandem kickoff returners, Cooley and King. So that's very interesting. And then your long snapper, again, is Carson York and Reed Sun. I know Sun has some experience doing that in the past. I can't remember about York. Shea keeps tracks of these things. Did York long snap at all last year, or is he new to the game? I forget. I'd have to look at last year's depth chart. But yeah, so there we go. There's your return specialist and your snapper. And now let me go back to the top here. And now we will look at the defense. We'll slide this right over. And on defense, there's not a whole lot of surprises. All right, Shea says York did play last year and probably long snap, so that's good. Shouldn't be a problem there. Got hurt against Texas Tech. Oh, I remember that. Yes. I forgot, and then that's when they switched. Correct. So I think he won the job last year as the long snapper as well and then got hurt. So, yep, great thing. Shea remembers all these little things. All right, defense, not a surprise. Your CB1 is Tyrekus Davis, and then we'll be backed up by Ian Bell, who I think is also very talented. So you have them there at the corner spot. But as we talked about last week, not a whole lot of depth there, so that's the thing to watch for. Who plays outside these three? Because, right, early in the season, the rotations will be interesting at all positions, and especially in the heat. Free safety, not a surprise, obviously. Very experienced Wyatt Eckler. Backing him up is Koa McIntyre, as we speculated on the preview last week, a talented player out of Nebraska who I've heard good things about. Strong safety, Isaac White, another longtime starter. So White and Eckler manning down those safety spots. Andrew Johnson playing backup once again, ready to take over next year as a senior. So the Cheyenne Central player will be playing a lot, though. And I know the safety coaches were talking a lot about that, about how solid he is. Probably backing up both spots if needed. He's flexible. All right, your other cornerback is going to be Keani Parks, a sophomore out of Wisconsin who was a running back, so a converted running back, but did great last year. Really stepped up from what I heard, is going to take that job. And then you have another converted player, Caleb Merritt, who came to Wyoming as a wide receiver, has been moved to the other side of the ball. Another super athletic kid. So I'm really interested to see how he plays. 5'11", 190, physical kid. I think, obviously, he's taken well to the position switch. Nickelbacks, no surprise there. Rook Brown, who can also play safety, right? So, again, he's a piece you can move around, but he's going to be your kind of your nickel linebacker, your nickel back who's going to be on the field a lot. And he is going to be backed up by Singleton, again, who played a little bit last year as a freshman. So we're in good hands there. Now, here was the questions we had about what they're going to do at the linebacker spots. You got Shea there, middle linebacker, who came over from the weak side, moves to middle linebacker. This should really help him. He's going to be backed up by Evan Eller, who is a transfer from VMI and ranked in the top 15, I do believe, in FCS tackles. So a great guy to have. He'll be playing a lot as well. Then on the other side, you have the other Shea, but this time the last name, Connor Shea, is going to be stepping from a backup role to your starting wheel linebacker. And then you have the transfer from Michigan State and Cole DeMarzo, who's played a lot as well. So again, linebacker spot, defensive back spot, Wyoming's in great shape. And the key is who is going to step up behind these guys in case of injury, rotations, stuff like that. All right, defensive line is a little bit interesting as well. We got Siders, of course, starting at one defensive end. He's going to be backed up by Harris, who, right, Harris could start for a lot of teams. So that is a good piece to have there. On the other defensive end is Harsh. And then Westland and Day backing him up. Again, experienced players. Day, new, a JUCO guy, but people are raving about him. Another guy who's put on a lot of weight. So at defensive end, Wyoming's in great shape. Siders, Harris, Harsh, Westland, Day. Nose tackle spot. Ben Florentine has won that job. Behind Dante Drake is kind of a surprise on the list. Not many people were talking about him. Then you got Jaden Williams. And if you just saw my interview with Coach Phelps, right? So Wyoming has two Jaden Williams. And so to tell them apart, this is how the team does it, he told me. It's J.Y. Williams and J.D. Williams. That's what they call him. So J.Y. is your third string at nose tackle, and J.D. is backing up at nose tackle behind Bertinoli. So again, we'll have to see how these rotations work, especially in Tempe, but you're going to see all these guys playing, and it's going to be important to keep that defensive line fresh. But again, another deep spot for Wyoming. Wyoming's got a lot of talent there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see how that all breaks down. And hopefully, right, they can get a little more of that pass rush, get some sacks, some tackles for losses, which will really help that secondary. All right. Of course, now let's go to your specialists. Nothing, no surprise there. John Hoyland, hashtag Red Shoe Man. Even though the Red Shoe is gone, he has said we got to keep the campaign going. So Red Shoe Man is your place kicker. And he'll be doing kickoffs as well. And then your punter is Jack Colbreth, another transfer from VMI, who has a pretty big leg. He won that job pretty easily. Wyoming needed that. And he is also going to be your holder on place kicks, is what Hoyland told me. And Hoyland, if you saw that interview, said that they've gotten a great relationship already. And he says that Colbreth is the quickest guy ball to ground that he's ever worked with. So that's really cool to see. And it is listed there. I didn't even see that. Colbreth listed as your holder there on the bottom. Let's see. Shay has a comment here. I think it's obvious passing down Siders inside, Harris from the edge. They did this in the past with the DEs. Correct. Yes, not uncommon in college football is to shift those guys down. Exactly, Shay. So, again, they have a lot of movable pieces on the defensive line to move guys around, to drop guys into coverage, to do a lot of different things with the versatility that these guys have. Because Harris, you could see him drop back as a linebacker as well at his size. Russian, blitzing, lining up as an outside linebacker and coming in. So a lot of good things to see there. But yeah, so that is your look at the depth chart. As we said, not a whole lot of position battles that we were looking at, but I just wanted to hop on here, kind of take a look at it. And it is very interesting. And so now you have something to print off at home as you're watching the game to keep track of who's in, who's out, where people lining up. But the best thing is it just means that football season is here. And so, yeah, so there is your look at the depth chart. Thank you for joining me on this live. I'm going to convert this into a video later this afternoon so the other people can see the replay, of course. And we'll be back sometime this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday. I haven't scheduled it yet to preview the game properly. So we will be doing a full preview here on the channel of the Wyoming at Arizona State game. First game of the season, of course. And yeah, and now we're into the grind, the weekly grind of the football season. And that depth chart is out. And thank you for joining us as always. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get those notifications. Hit that bell. And thank you for all the great people reaching out letting us know that you're enjoying the comment and the content. And if you don't like the content, you can do that too. Tell us, what can we do better? But really excited for this season. Excited to see the depth chart. And we will be back in a few days to preview this Arizona State game. So for everybody at WyoNation, I am Chad Smith. We will talk to you soon. Thanks.